There's a web page, and it's a very interesting web page. It is Deagel.com. Now, it's not a government web page, but it is a real intelligence organization for the United States government, and it makes some very strange predictions. It was actually used in the WikiLeaks issue, and governments have used it in the past to actually, determine some of the issues that surround developments in the world. Now, here's a web page that is not Deagel. It's steemit.com, and they're asking the question here, what is this global depopulation by 2025? Interesting year. Now, we're not setting a date.
No.
We're just quoting a web page. And we will go to Deagel and see what they actually have to say. Here's a blog page, Algora blog, which talks about these issues. And of course, they are linking depopulation now with the Bill Gates plan. And they have, very interesting things here that are quite sensational. The depopulation agenda, Bill Gates plans to kill you. So they also quote Deagel and says it makes this mysterious changes to the 2025 population forecast. Here they continue and they talk about the development of a universal vaccine, and that this is going to be one of the means to bring about this depopulation. But if something is so in your face, then that's what people want you to believe. But behind it, there might be a deeper issue. And we want to study the deeper issue. So here, this webpage tells us what Deagel's sources are, and they believe that these are the deep state sources, of course. This comes from Deagel itself, sources US Department of Defense, Department of the State, the CIA, World Bank, European Union, and United States Coast Guard, Department of Defense, Government, Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Navy. Those are the sources that they use. And it's very interesting. So this man claims that these are deep state sources. So let's go to those web pages. Yes. And just see what they have to say. Deagel.com, here's a partial list of known Deagel partners and clients according to their own website. National Security Agency, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Organizations for Economic Cooperation and Development, OSCE, Russian Defense Procurement Agency, Stratfor, the World Bank. It's pretty impressive, right?
Yes.
A pretty impressive list. And it's interesting that this web page doesn't have an About Us section.
Yeah.
They don't tell you.
It's not easy to see.
Yeah.
Who are the.
But WikiLeaks was involved in it. Governments have used it. And not many people know about it, but it's out there, right? Fascinating. This comes directly from their own webpage, and they are going to explain here why they have this massive prediction of a population reduction. We'll look at it in a moment. And it's a long story, and they're saying, well, it's not necessarily war. It could just be migration. It could be changes in the economy, and of course the epidemics that could lead to things like this. So let's just read some of the things that they say here, why they have these predictions. There have been many questions about the country's forecasts, especially the ones focusing on the United States of America. They won't be answered one by one, but below you can find some explanation, thoughts and reflections. We are going to keep this as short as possible. The majority of the economic and demographic data used in the making of the forecast is widely available by institutions such as the CIA, IMF, the United Nations, USG, etc. So they say that themselves. So here in this first paragraph, they say that pandemics will play a major role in the reduction of the populations. And then the collapse of the Western financial system will wipe out the standard of living of its population, while ending Ponzi schemes such as the stock exchange and the pension funds. The population will be hit so badly by a full array of bubble and Ponzi schemes that the migration engine will start to work in reverse, accelerating itself due to ripple effects, thus leading to the demise of the states. So they're predicting virtually a wipeout, right?
Yeah. People migrating out of the United States again.
Okay, but the time frame is so fascinating. So sorry to disappoint many of you with our forecast. It is getting worse and worse every year since the beginning of the pre-crisis in 2007. And they're not going to say anything else about it. Now here is a very interesting sentence. It says, the figure itself is not important. What is relevant is the fact that the scenario can evolve beyond the initial conditions from a 50% death toll to more than 90%. That's interesting, wiping out 90%. By the way, no pandemic or nuclear war is included in the forecast. They're talking about a pandemic here.
Yeah.
But in this forecast, in this case, no pandemic or nuclear war is in the forecast. So what will wipe out those populations?
I don't know.
Aha, now this is where it gets interesting. This is where we have to put on our thinking caps.
Yes.
Now let's take a country like India, for example. This is very interesting. They have here, India, what the currency is, and the year of assessment of their population in this table here is 2017. The population was 1.3 billion. And then it tells you what its gross domestic product is and all of these issues. Now it's interesting, the gross domestic product was 2.4 trillion.
Yes.
Then they have a forecast for 2025. The population, they say, is going to increase. It's a green arrow. And it's still going to be 1.3 billion, but the numbers will have increased. So obviously, issues like pandemics or nuclear war didn't affect them
and
at
the migration.
all. Migration, nothing. The gross domestic product is going to be 5.1 trillion when it was before 2.4 trillion. In other words, it's going to more than double.
Yes.
That's astounding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from 2017 to 2025. We don't see anything like that at the moment.
Yep.
Nothing like it. Now, that's very interesting. All right. But it gets fascinating when we get to the others. Let's take Germany. That's a Western country.
Yes.
It's a Christian country, right?
Correct.
And the previous one was not a Christian country. The year 2017, the population 81 million. These are just facts. Then the gross domestic product, 3.7 trillion at the moment. That is more than what India's was, right?
Yes.
Then it goes down and it tells you the forecast for 2025, and the arrow is red, the population is going to drop to 28 million. Excuse me, this is the forecast.
Yep.
From 81 million to 28 million.
Now, if they don't include pandemics and nuclear wars in this,
Then what's going to happen to Germany? Why would they say that? Why would there be virtually an 80% reduction in population? Are they all going to emigrate? Are they all going to become Russians? Are they going to emigrate to North America? No,
No.
because they're going to go down as well. Maybe to North Africa? I don't know. But it's fascinating that they will have a total population collapse or destruction, according to their estimate.
Yes.
And their gross domestic product will drop down to 621 billion from a mighty 3.7 trillion. In other words, their total economy is going to be destroyed. This sounds like national ruin.
Yeah.
Have you heard that word before?
Yes.
I wonder who used the word national ruin.
A prophet.
Aha. Now, this is very serious. And people will say, conspiracy theory. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a statistical forecast from Deagel for whatever reason. Yes. They don't really say, right? Let's look at Italy. Again, the population in 2017, 62 million. They're going to experience a drop to 44 million. Not as bad as Germany,
no,
but it's still a considerable calamity if 20 million people disappear from your population.
Yes.
That is a horrendous disaster.
Definitely.
And their gross domestic product is going to drop down from 1.9 trillion to 1.3 trillion. So they're not as badly hit as Germany, according to this.
Yes.
Why could this be? Doesn't that make you think?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. You have to start thinking.
Let's go to another non-Christian country, Japan. Gross domestic product, 4.9 trillion. Population, 126 million. Let's drop down to the forecast. Population, 103 million. So they're going to lose 23 million people in their population. That's odd.
That's a lot of people, yes.
That's a lot of people. 23 million people gone within the next 5 years, according to them.
Yeah.
Not because of war,
No.
not taken into account. And then you go down to the gross domestic product, which will drop from 4.9 trillion to 3.1 trillion. So it's not as bad as Germany, which is totally obliterated, according to their statistics.
But still bad.
Russia. In 2017, the population 142 million. The forecast for 2025, 142 million. No reduction in population. Nothing. What do these people know that we don't know?
I don't know.
Or maybe do know?
Yes.
Okay. What about gross domestic product? It was 1.6 trillion in 2017, and it's going to go up to 4.3 trillion.
Yes.
So it's going to triple, at least. This is astounding. This is astounding. Spain, a Catholic country in Europe. And what do we have here? 49 million people in the country. 2017, gross domestic product, 1.3 trillion. Population reduction down to 28 million. That's almost half the population is going to be wiped out, according to this, within the next 5 years, for whatever reason.
Yes.
And the gross domestic product will also drop substantially to 553 billion, whereas at the moment it's 1.3 trillion.
Yes.
Israel. Because there are people that say, the Zionists are behind this. It's a Zionist plot to wipe out the population. So I included Israel just for interest's sake as to what is happening there. 8.3 million is the population in 2017, or was the population, and it is going to drop to 4 million. So they're going to lose more than half their population. Yes. That's quite fascinating. Their gross domestic product is going to drop substantially from 348 billion to 70 billion.
Yes.
So Israel is going to be very hard hit. France, what's going to happen to you? Population 67 million in 2017, down to 39 million.
It's also
That's
significant.
That's very significant. Now, always bear in mind, India and Russia, no population drop. Now let's go to Canada. Population, 36 million. Gross domestic product, 1.6 trillion. Their forecast for 2025, 26 million. They're going to lose 10 million people. Yeah. That's a third of their population gone.
Gone.
That's incredible. This is just a forecast, of course.
Yes.
Now, what do they know that the world apparently does not know? And if they know, what is their source?
Yes. Where does this all come from?
Where does this come from? So, gross domestic product will also drop. South Africa, just for interest's sake, 55 million, the population will drop to 46 million, so it's a 9 million drop in population, which is substantial. I mean, if we had to say in the next 5 years, 10 million people are going to die, that's quite shocking.
And that must also then include births and deaths.
Yes.
So with all of that, it still goes down 9 million.
But when you say to Germany, 50 million of your population are going to die out of your 80-something million, that's shocking beyond measure. Now let's look at the poor United States of America. Population 327 million in 2017. They predict it's going to drop to 100 million.
Now that's
so what's going to happen to 227 million people?
Migrate.
To 2/3 of the population gone. Are they all going to move to Mexico?
I don't know. This is what they
makes no sense.
This is what they're trying to tell you, but
are they going to move to Canada?
No, because Canada is also...
It's also got to drop.
Yeah.
So they're definitely not moving anywhere.
No.
All right? And it's not a pandemic and it's not a war, according to them. And their gross domestic product is going to drop down to 2.4 trillion from a mighty 19 trillion. They're going to be a third world country.
Yes.
In the next
5 years.
Well, it's 4 years now.
Yeah.
Because this one's nearly gone.
Basically.
Can you see it happening? Now let's look at the poor United Kingdom. This is unbelievable. Population currently 66 million, or it was in 2017. It's going to drop to 15 million. 51 million people of their population are predicted to be gone. They're not moving to Europe.
No.
Because Europe is going down.
As well.
I don't know what they're going to do.
And in Russia, the population basically stood at the same.
This is almost the worst of them. This is horrendous. This is horrendous. What do these people know? Here's just a broader summary. Let's have a look at China, for example. The population in 2017 was 1.38 billion, and they predict a drop to 1.358 billion, which is not a great drop compared to that huge number.
Yes.
But their gross domestic product is going to increase from 11.94 trillion to 16.967. So they will be the mightiest nation in terms of gross domestic product and population in the next 4 years. Brazil is going to have an increase of 3 million. So the Americans certainly didn't migrate. Those 250 million people didn't migrate to
Brazil.
South America,
No.
right? Not according to this. Mexico, their population is going to stay exactly the same, virtually. It's going to have a slight increase. So they didn't go to Mexico either.
No.
And they didn't go to Canada.
No.
So the only other conclusion must be that they no longer exist. Now, if I were to tell you that in the next 4 years, virtually the entire population of the United States, except for a handful, will be obliterated, would that shock you?
Of course.
And if I told you that virtually 80% of the population of Germany will be obliterated, would that shock you?
Yes.
Would you book your aeroplane ticket to go there?
No.
No,
It's shocking.
definitely not. Okay, let's just take a step back. People will accuse us now of fear-mongering. We weren't fear-mongering, we were reading statistics, right?
Mm-hmm.
What could lead to such a demise? But I have another question. It seems to be the Christian countries that are being hardest hit.
Yes.
Europe,
Mm.
England in particular, Germany,
Yes.
the others
United
as
States.
well. Italy not as bad as Germany.
Mm-hmm.
France, very bad. Spain, very
Spain.
bad, but not as bad as Germany and not nearly as bad as the United Kingdom. Canada has a huge reduction. The United States is virtually wiped out, right?
Yes.
That's what the scenario is. Now, there are many conspiracy theories out there as to what the cause is going to be. Asteroids,
Mm-hmm.
Planet X, collisions. But that doesn't explain this selective destruction in particularly Christian countries, if it were to come about in the first place.
Yeah.
Now, we have these statements which claim that national apostasy will lead to national ruin. The Bible says that the earth will wear out like a garment and its inhabitants will die like flies.
Yes.
So there is coming a massive destruction. Now, if you have a lot of light, are you not responsible for that light? And if you reject that light, then national ruin is the consequence. We will look at some of these issues.